So, hello everyone. Welcome to the Masterclass. It's Saturday, 5:30 p.m. and we are most excited to have you with us every day as we track the journey of Shomie Naga, and read the book. Here we are. We are reading Shomie The Man Who Saw Tomorrow. So, what we will do today, we will reflect first on last week's chapter, as we always do. And that gives us a background as to what is happening, where we stand in the book. But I suggest when you come to a book reading session, you should have a book. I say that in every session. And on top of that, let me add, we have 2 book reading sessions a week, both dedicated to happy teachers. And both are open, by the way. We don't charge for the sessions. So people keep asking us, why do you do this? Just for happy teachers. So this is the agenda of Learning Forward India Foundation, is to empower teachers and help transform schools. Towards that, we would expect you to go to our website, schooleducation.com. Our curriculum is 3: My Good School, which is on Sundays; Teachers Academy, which is on Saturdays today; and the My Good School Retreat, which is our meeting 2 to 3 times a year. Go to the website and please find out. I repeat again, certificates are not given for attendance, they're only given for participation. The certificate program is open for anyone who registered with rupees 2,500. You get a certificate from Learning Forward International. The certificate requires you to attend 50% of our sessions, have the book, read it, and post 5 reflections on the Happy Teachers blog. If you need help, Manisha will put her address, email in the chat, record it, and she can guide you. She'll be in touch with you on email. If you still want to do a WhatsApp chat, go to the website schooleducation.com, and from there send us a WhatsApp message. So do we read first or do we reflect on the last week first? Gurdeep, you think we should reflect on the last week first?
Yes, I'm sharing the screen.
Lovely. Thank you. Thank you, Gurdeep. On the last week, we were cashing in on confidence. Now, this is a challenge we all face. And it's a phrase which is oft repeated. And cashing in on confidence is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it may make you go towards where your ego carries you and you shut your eyes and ears. But yet, cashing in on confidence has a better meaning, wherein you take your experience, you learn from others, you learn from hindsight, and you move ahead. And that's what gives you confidence. And we talked about unethical shortcuts people take. So, a classic example was where Naga, the author, said that when they were running Vikas in Vishakhapatnam, they had the option of buying elite exam papers. They had this junior college or preparatory college in Vishakhapatnam, Vikas. So they didn't get carried away. And they thought that perhaps this will be a short term gain, but it may not lead to a long term gain for them. And they did not want to look at their reputation at stake. So that's how he says that now when he looks back, this is the best thing he did. He didn't get carried away by the use of leaked papers. Then, of course, there will be struggles. Life is hard. They had financial challenges, how they overcame, how they were always living on stretch, even credit cards. But what really was there was that they had a genuine sense of purpose and people believed in them. So everyone stood by them. मैं हिंदी में कभी कभी बोलता हूँ, पब्लिक सब जानती है. You don't have to advertise your genuineness. It's a feeling that percolates down to the last mile. So they gave a fantastic example of curry leaf plant. Now, once the curry leaf plant grows up, the more leaves you break, the more it becomes greener. And this is a fantastic analogy for you as educators to look at. Then, in addition to that, they talk about serving the community, and it's a responsibility of teachers to inspire students. And yesterday we had a very interesting session wherein we addressed the challenge, why are teachers averse to change? And this to me is very important. This chapter we were reading from the book My Good School. And we realized that most of us are too happy with status quo. And that's not the answer. You have your own destiny. You have your own future in your hands and you can make it or break it. Choice is yours. So on the same page, cashing in on confidence, if we scroll up a little, there is a video there, cashing in on confidence. So we have started naming the videos. Gurdeep, scroll down, please. We have started naming the videos by the chapter name. We don't write masterclass and date anymore. So it'll become easy for you to identify the video. Because earlier on, we had a method where you used to write masterclass and date, which was not really serving any purpose. So all videos have been renamed by the name of the chapter, which will make it easy for you to replay, catch up if you have missed a session. We have now over 800 people who have signed up for our webinars. So we will limit the webinar capacity to 500. So in case you can't enter, the video will be available half an hour later on YouTube. So please replay it. And more than important than that, I think you should read the book, because reading the book with the video will help. It's like a podcast. That's a good method. It really helps because you get explanations side by side, you get conversations. So do read with us. And when we screen the videos, we always screen with text. So even if you can't get hold of the book, you will be able to read. Maybe please open the chapter, please. So reflection of chapter 16 is done. Shomie Das, as we all know, went to teach at Gordonstoun. Gordonstoun is in Scotland, which is the north of England. So chapter 17, the Scottish Incubator. Shomie was interested in a man called Dr. Kurt Hahn, who had started a school in Germany called Schulschlosssalem. When the Nazis came to power, Hahn wrote a letter to all his old boys, one of whom was Prince Philip, the father of Britain's future King Charles III. If you have anything to do with the Nazis, Hahn wrote, you have to resign from the Old Boys Association. A letter like that is unlikely to escape the notice of the authorities. This too didn't, and soon the Gestapo, the dreaded secret police of Nazi Germany, began tracking Hahn. All the more since he was a Jew. But Hahn had powerful backers. One of them was Ramsay MacDonald, when the Prime Minister of England, who arranged to get Hahn out of Germany. Hahn then settled in Scotland, where he founded Gordonstoun School in 1934. The school is heading to 100 years soon, and so is the Doon School, which opened in 1935. So Shomie's life is intertwined by 100 years of Doon School very deeply, because Gordonstoun prepared him to come to India and teach. And he taught his way up. He had himself been a student at Doon and ultimately became headmaster of Doon in the last century itself. Hahn had interesting ideas about teaching, which went well beyond classroom learning. Now, this is the reality for us. How do we talk so much about experiential learning today? And look at this, we're talking of 1934. Every institutions, he would say, needs to have just two pillars on which they should stand. One was a sense of honor, and the other a sense of obligation to that institution. Honor and obligation. I always say education only becomes complete when it is responsibility with freedom. Responsibility with freedom. Now match this with this sentence. One has a sense of honor and the other one a sense of obligation. So honor and obligation are echoing freedom and responsibility. He also thought it was important to have a curriculum that, apart from the common subjects, should teach children to rescue people in distress, such as when they are trapped in forest fires. mountain disasters, and shipwrecks. So he set up a fire service in the school, run entirely by the boys, with the master in charge. A mountain rescue service ran in the same way like the Coast Guard service, which was already there because the school was on the sea. According to Hahn, taking part in a rescue in peacetime was morally equivalent to fighting for the country during war. Jugjeev sir, this will resonate with you. We both have come from an institution where we even did life saving, if you remember. We were made members of the life saving society. And
Life-saving first aid.
absolutely. So all these things are inspired by the philosophy of Kurt Hahn.
Yep.
And what we talk today is Dune School curriculum is more an extension of Hahn's philosophy, which ensures that we have honor and obligation. That's an important part. It was natural that a person like Shomie with ideas brimming in his head would seek out Hahn. Hahn was getting to be known, and I was interested in his ideas about teaching. Shomie would recall during our conversations regarding Oak Ridge, which was then still in the conceptual stage. So I applied to Gordonstoun and met him through the appointments board. There was a teaching position, and I was interviewed by the headmaster who had just taken over from Hahn. He appointed me. So off I went to northern Scotland to teach in Gordonstoun. So Hahn had already retired when you joined Gordonstoun. Yes, but he still lived there. He was keen to meet all young teachers to talk and discuss his ideas. He would sit with us and indoctrinate us in a sense. I used to play tennis with him and have debates. Shomie taught physics at Gordonstoun. He eventually rose to become head of the physics department and started building his radio telescope. He applied to the Royal Society and got a grant. The condition was he had to involve senior boys in his project so that they got a feel of what scientific research was. So look at what you do in international schools today, in IB today, and what we are talking a lot about project-based learning, what we are talking a lot about experiential learning. They are very fine examples today in the country of schools. And look at this 100 years in history. So Jugjeev said, look at the brilliant example. You know, the grant came with the specific need that the boys should be involved in the project. And if I look back my school days, we used to have motor mechanics, we used to have carpentry, we had industrial chemistry, a lab in school. So that's what experiential learning is all about. And Shomie had grown up in an environment like that. For Shomie, fresh from the intellectually stimulating ambience of Cambridge, Gordonstoun would be different kind of experience, a return to the fundamentals, so to speak. What was it like? I asked him one day. That would take a whole afternoon, he laughed. Take the entire evening, I replied. All right, NP. NP is Naga Prasada, Naga Tummala, the author of the book. What we are reading. He said, you asked for it. Then he began. Gordonstoun was a Spartan school with no luxury whatever, not even heating. It was very cold, but we survived. And among the things that we had to do, which was Hahn's idea, was that all students must go for a run at 6 in the morning to loosen their limbs and get blood circulating in just a pair of shorts, nothing else. Jugjeev sir, you remember your days of singlets and shorts?
Yeah, we had singlets. Seems they're not using singlets.
Absolutely. So singlets and shorts. Singlet is a warm vest. And we had singlets and shorts at PT, no matter how cold it was. But later on, they started giving us jerseys made of thread, literally, to cover us up in case that was of any grace or face. And then they would come back and have a cold shower. After the cold shower, they could have a warm shower. So that was what we had to do, including the young masters. We had to run with the kids. So if you go to Nehru Institute of Mountaineering, if you go to any of these survival institutes, this story about a morning ritual of a cold water shower happens even today. And even doctors will recommend that if you have sinus, have a cold shower. If you have tachycardia, have a cold shower. It puts your blood circulation in the right perspective. And it is, even today, you have ice baths, you have special places in Europe where people go for treatment in cold water. So definitely there is scientific backing yet that your blood circulation and your body adapts and builds good health. So it's important. Look at this is part of a curriculum of a school. Did King Charles III have to run too? I tried to keep my expression as deadpan as possible, but the question was waiting to be asked. Very few teachers have the privilege of teaching a future monarch. Shomie was equal to the question. Well, NP, his eyes twinkled. Charles was not yet king yet. How beautiful. Charles was not king yet. Look at the answer. How well crafted the answer is. He could have said, yeah, he had to have a bath also. But look at the way Shomie thoughtfully answered. And this is critical thinking. This is the use of good language and motivation. The Gordonstoun way. So we are now talking of the Gordonstoun way. Coming back to Gordonstoun, the system there got Shomie hooked, especially its stress on certain values and principles that every student had to aspire to. It interested me a lot, he continued. A boy who joined the school didn't get the school uniform until he was judged to be worthy of it. And to be worthy, you had to know the school song. And you had to show that you knew what your obligations were. At the end of the term, all the new boys who had joined at the beginning of the term would join a big ceremony and they would be given the school uniform. Then they felt they belonged. Secondly, there was no corporal punishment. We're almost 100 years back, remember that. The punishments were all again based on obligations. So if you did not do your homework or were guilty of some other lapse, the house teacher concerned would ask you to tell your house master that you hadn't done your homework. And he left it at that. The boy was obliged to. It was his honor-bound duty to go to the housemaster and say, listen, I haven't done my homework and I've been sent by so and so. Then the housemaster would take appropriate action. The punishment was walking, depending on the severity of the crime. You were sent on a walk, and a walk could be for 3 kilometers up to 10 kilometers, as deemed fit for the crime. But you had to walk only when you were free, not at any time. So you had your walk without supervision. No one asked you if you had completed your punishment walk, but you had a little diary in which you ticked off that you had gone for the punishment walk. The diary was confidential. No one could see it except yourself and the housemaster. Jugjeet sir, you remember the logbook? Did you have that?
Logbook? No.
Yeah, well, in our house, we had logbooks in which we wrote what we did throughout the day. So Mr. Hensman, our housemaster, used to encourage us. And once a week, we used to go to him one by one and he used to glance our logbooks. So now I know where that practice came from.
Yeah, yeah.
Among the other obligations were, have you brushed your teeth? Have you done your 100 skips? Have you made your bed? And other such stuff. The student was taught to be a responsible person. I don't think such a system should work now. Even in Gordonstoun, it did not work 100%. But it worked to a large degree. Even those who cheated would sometimes not cheat. It's got into your system. So what is important? Trust and relationship. And this comes up again and again. A teacher has to build that trust and relationship. You will never get 100% compliance of any law in the country, of any particular system. There will always be some people who will not comply. But that does not mean you should not have a system, one. Second, it does not mean you should lose trust. That's the important part. So having a system and not losing trust are a very important part of any form of learning education. As you grew within the hierarchy and got more and more responsibility, depending upon how you discharge your responsibilities, you got a stripe. After the school uniform that you were given, the next important thing was the stripe. One of them was called a white stripe. You not only had obligations, but the responsibility to see that other people were doing things the Gordonstoun way. And these were all elective posts. And then you got a purple stripe when you were elected a color bearer. That means you were found fit for the community of teachers and boys for wearing the colors of the school. You couldn't even play for the first 11 of the school until you got your stripes. Yes, students would strive to get their stripes. Shomie paused. The words had come in a torrent. It was evident how much Gordonstoun he had internalized. A part of the experience would go into making of Oak Ridge, though there would be 3 other schools in between. Fighting against yourself. Another thing I liked about Hahn, Shomie, continued, was that he was sure that one of the obligations of the school like Gordonstoun was that it had to cater to the local children. It gave its fields to the local children to play games, and it went out of its way to organize these village children into doing things which they got a badge, which was called the Murray Badge. I don't know whether you have heard of the Duke of Edinburgh's award. This award was given by Prince Philip to those boys who achieved certain standards. And you could have bronze standard, silver standard, and gold standard. Murray Badge was the forerunner of the Duke of Edinburgh's award. In India today, you have the IAYP, International Award for Young People. And for some of us who may find this trivia interesting, I volunteered 33 years with with the Duke of Edinburgh's award, which became IAYP. And I was their country head from 2009 till 2012 before I started work on school culture transformation as a school coach. So the Duke of Edinburgh's award also came from Gordonstoun. You can see how rich the curriculum was, how well designed the program were. And in all these things, they give you the opportunity to take more responsibility. And that's what Learning Forward is. The Duke of Edinburgh's award is run in India as the Indian Youth Award. It now is known as International Award for Young People. You have certain standards to achieve to get that award. For instance, you have to do a one-night trek on your own with your own mates and camp and make your food. Then you had to do community service. You have to judge your own physical abilities. At the end of the day, you had a book in which you ticked off the standards you had achieved. Actually, you were fighting against yourself constantly. So it's important that competing with yourself is the best competition. And this is where learning forward actually happens. So as teachers, you also have to compete against yourself and better your performance. And that's what professional learning is all about. If you're able to do that, you will be a happy teacher. When you feel you have accomplished, when you feel you're meeting your own aspirations, you become a better person. I don't know if this system would work across schools in India, but my school did it. In India, the schools are too hung up with marks. But what the Duke of Edinburgh's teaches is leadership. It teaches risk-taking, being collected. So it was another thing in Gordonstoun that I enjoyed very much. We had a strong emphasis on community service and rescue service. I would be taking a class and the fire siren would go off. Then 3 boys from my class would leave the class and go. They would change in 3 minutes and they were away to fight, usually a forest fire that was enormous. So I want to pause here and tell you that we celebrate something similar. We meet twice a year at the My Good School retreat. The next retreat is 11th to 14th of April. We meet in April and November to celebrate experiential learning in the Rajaji Sanctuary at the Arthur Foot Academy. Arthur Foot Academy is a school made to further the philosophy of the founder headmaster of Doon School, Arthur E. Foot. So we are in the process of making a school in a village, which who knows, 75 years from today, may be another Doon School replica. Shomie would teach at Gordonstoun for 12 years. During this time, he also worked with an organization called NAFI in Oxford to develop a subject called physical science at A level. The idea behind it was to combine physics and chemistry, freeing up an A level student for subjects like English literature or history. That was another innovation the school introduced as a part of the pilot project approved by the education authorities. Today, the new NEP is encouraging free flow of subject, combination of arts, humanities. It's even reaching a stage that you can plan your progress. So look at all this, how far this is and how far-fetched all this is. In 1961, 3 years after joining Gordonstoun, Shomie got married to Firoza. After the wedding held in India, the couple went back to Scotland, where they started a family. Jugjeev sir, maybe you're interested. On 16th of March, there's a meeting in Delhi to celebrate the life and times of Shomie, who unfortunately passed away a few months back.
Right. Coming
Yeah.
next Sunday, Sunday.
Yeah, it's on 16th of March. So
Yeah.
there will be people who have been in touch with Shomie. There will be people from the book whom you're talking about. Of course, Firoza is no more, but I'm
Yeah.
sure they will be there and we will meet them when they are there in spirit. Did marriage change anything for the cafe idealistic teacher? Interesting question. Nothing much. Shomie had laughed, except that we were very poor. I used to get a salary of £35 a month, hardly enough for a family of 5. Shomie is blessed with 2 sons and a daughter. From that, I used to give my wife £4 a week for food and the other expenses. Out of the £4, she paid £1 to a lady who would come to help her. But she was happy there. She had even learned to drive, and once a week she would go to the market in Elgin, which was 8 kilometers away. Jugjeev sir, I did this drive in 2013 from Gordonstoun to Elgin. Learning beyond the classroom. Coming back to Gordonstoun, Shomie would pick up other valuable ideas too, especially ways to make learning interesting. Kids need to need to get out of the classroom. The concept of shutting them for 5 hours a day within 4 walls was quite unnatural. You have to allow them to go for games or physical activities. It was compulsory for children to get a 40-minute break after 2 classes before they went back to a new class. That was another thing that I felt was important to do with children. Even today, I criticize schools for the number of hours they keep children locked in classrooms. I think it is shocking. So Gordonstoun for me was much an incubator of ideas in education. There, I learned the value of teaching children through adventure, teaching children through hands-on projects. So there, I built my radio telescope. Shomie would also take his students outdoors, climbing peaks that were 4,000 foot high, right by the sea. We would climb 2 to 3 of these peaks in winter during the weekend and challenge ourselves. Those excursions taught me the value of adventure training and how it brings out the best in kids. If you remember, I've written about this interesting experience when we had taken 14 boys to climb a peak called Ben Alder. Shomie and his boys had camped at the bottom of the peak for the night and set out the next morning. To remind you, a severe blizzard had started with a strong wind. The blizzard had frozen our eyelids shut, which meant They were climbing without seeing where they were going, and on their right was a sheer slope. Shomie recalls that they only had a map and a compass, and that an otherwise unprepossessing student led the whole group to safety. He speaks of this incident as illustrating once again that he knew instinctively that children rise to challenges. Back to a story from my school days. So we were in class 9 when a bunch of us went out for a night out, very much designed this way. No teacher, class 9, which means we must have about 14 years. We walked from Dehradun up the hill onto Mussoorie Hill to a place called Suakoli. And from Suakoli, we had to track ourselves down to Sestadhara and reach back. So we slept in a shed in Suakoli, must have been a broken down school or a shed, I don't remember exactly. And next day, we started our way down from the Mussoorie Ridge towards Sulphur Springs, Sestadhara, and we got lost. The beautiful part, we were supposed to be back by 5:36 in the evening. Till about 9:30, 10 p.m., there was no news of us. It was dark. Well, we found our way and we ended up in Raipur. Perhaps people know Raipur is a little ahead of Sulphur Springs, Sestadhara, and Dehradun towards the east. We reached Raipur way beyond 9 p.m. And those days, there was no city bus at that time, which we could take to get back to the city. So we decided, okay, we'll walk a little more. And we walked from there to the school to reach school about midnight. The interesting bit, why I'm mentioning this is here, that we rose to the challenge, found our way, and believe you, the most interesting part, that our teachers, I know they were looking for us. They even came out of the school checking out on their scooters, but they weren't worried. They knew we would come. So it was a fantastic learning experience. Yes, times have changed. Perhaps these things don't happen. And in Doon School, now they have escorted groups. They don't have these private groups anymore. Yes, today you have POSCO. Yes, today you have child safety. Yes, today you have drugs and other challenges. So times have changed. And we feel that adult supervision helps. But bottom line is not about supervision. It's about trust. It's about relationship. So if you build up a great trust in relationship with your shishya or your children, that'll take you a long way. Hahn used to say this with a twinkle in his eyes. You have to put children where they feel some risk to their lives. Only then can they strengthen their real character, when they have a look after their lives. So this is very important. Please highlight this. You have to put children where they feel some risk to their lives. Only then can they strengthen their real character, when they have to look after their lives. So this is about risk taking. It's about agility. It's about resilience. It's about mind consciousness and thought. And life is the biggest risk. After you're born, you have gone through the biggest risk. Your birth could have taken your mother's life. Your birth could have taken your life. So there's nothing to fear after that. So have courage. That is what it's all about. And when I use the word courage, it always comes to my mind, courage to teach. And that's where I think of you teachers. We really appreciate the courage you have to teach. Of course, it doesn't mean that you put them in danger, but where they felt that if they weren't careful, they could get hurt. They were careful. That was a great learning. So being careful means you develop a sense of responsibility. And if you look at the whole chapter, it's been talking about cultivating a sense of responsibility and integrity and honesty. So where we talked earlier about the punishment system without corporal punishment. And then we also talked about this beautiful incident where you got lost and came back. So that was the ability to take risk and overcome the challenges. Shomie would leave Gordonstoun in 1968. It was not something that he had planned. Rather, it was a phone call that would send him back to India. The call was from his former teacher in the Doon School, Jack Gibson. who was then heading Mayo College, a private boys' school, boys' boarding only school, one of the most reputable education institutions in India. You'll be glad to know that in this month, we'll be onboarding Mayo College into our Good Schools Alliance. So the small world. Gibson was on a visit to England when he dialed Shomie. I'm retiring and want you to take over from me, he said. Sir, what a lovely thought, Shomie had replied. But don't think I'll go all the way to India for an interview. I didn't ask you for an interview, Gibson shot back. Just come. So at the age of 33, Shomie packed his bags again for another long journey, this time to Ajmer. 33, remember that. Gibson had sent him a color photograph of the main building in white marble with a top drawer, and in his own words, Shomie fell for that. The top tower, sorry. And in his own words, Shomie fell for that. So even today, when we look at these buildings of so many of the institutions, they want us to be there. And perhaps this is what happened in Shomie's case. Firoza was sad. She had become used to life in Scotland, but Shomie had made up his mind. I had decided to leave also because of a man called Enoch Powell, who was talking about rivers of blood because of immigration. Powell was a conservative British politician known for his controversial anti-immigrant rhetoric. So imagine anti-immigration rhetoric 100 years back. So not much has changed since then. And today, world over, we are developing this kind of right-wing, controversial anti-immigrant rhetoric. Last 25 years, we tried to build a borderless world. We tried to create a global village. And today, we are realizing that we have to be anti-immigrant. Now, whether it's good or it's bad, these are all cycles. So first you take immigrations, then you feel it's a houseful, then you cool down, then you run short of people. An interesting example I'll give you. Singapore is celebrating 60 years this year. They may not be encouraging immigration, but they are saying that every child born in the 60th year of Singapore, the government would provide a full nursery for the child, from crib to bib, to books to shelves, to all the requirements of a child. They will support the parents of the children born this year. So this is how sometimes countries have to work hard to overcome their challenge of demography. Well, those times, Shomie thought he was safer coming back. Large number of Indians had turned up and were taking jobs, Shomie said. He wasn't accepting the fact that no one was willing to do those jobs other than immigrants. So this is a dilemma the world over. Whether it was politics or the call from a former teacher. Whether it was politics or the call from a former teacher. One of the twin roads to Oak Ridge had taken a decisive turn towards eventual convergence. So only when Shomie would come back to India would he end up working with Naga on Oak Ridge. If Shomie, his destiny had not brought him to India and he had stayed back in Scotland, the way his wife was comfortable, well, life has its ways. Mayo would be the first stop in Shomie's journey back to Dehradun, where Raj and I would meet him. Why back to Dehradun? Shomie became Princey at Mayo first, followed up with headmaster at Lawrence School, Sanar, and then headmaster at Dehradun. And once he retired as headmaster Dehradun School in Dehradun, Raj met him. And post his retirement, he worked with Raj and Naga to build the Oak Ridge schools. Though that was still 30 years in the future, but that was the future for Shomie, was present for Raj and me. So back to the future again. So it's a very interesting narrative. And next week, we will put a bookmark for next week, please. Just flip the page, Gurdeep. Yeah. So next week, we will read Turmoil or Triumph. That's the chapter. Please put a bookmark, and may I recommend, please get a copy of the book. It will go a long way for you to become a teacher, to become a legend. Shomie lived till almost 90. And even the week before he passed away, this book was released, 10 days before. And he was present at the release of the book. How beautiful the life is. So please, with due regard to your guru, with due regard to your own self, try and get a copy of the book. If you need some help, we have a few copies. We'll be able to help you. You can WhatsApp us. You can email us. I will show you where our WhatsApp and email are in a little while. And Manisha will put her email in the chat. You can email her for help. So we will do Turmoil to Triumph next week. Let's go back to the Teachers Academy reflections. So when you send reflections to us, when you send posts to us, please refresh the page with Teachers Academy top, go to home. Gurdeep, please click on the banner on top. Then it will come to today's post. Yeah, click here. So today is the 8th of March. Thank you for joining us. We will talk about today's reflection. If you see on the right corner, connect with us. You see an email address and a WhatsApp number. This phone does not take any calls, please. So you will not be able to make a phone call. You can only do a WhatsApp message to this phone number or an email to this if you need any support. Support is only available to teachers who are part of the Good School Alliance. Support is available to teachers who sign up for a certificate program. So if you've not signed for the certificate program, your school is not a member of Good School Alliance, we are not obliged to support you, but we will do whatever we can for you. We won't dishearten you because we love you and we respect every teacher. We will give you full honor and respect. But definitely our support and commitment is on priority to the member of the Good School Alliance. So let's look at what we take away from March 8th today. Thank you for all the likes. You keep cheering us up. I'm grateful you're all here. I can't tell you how happy I feel just reading. And it's a very lovely thought. It's a wonderful Saturday. We call them Learning Forward Saturdays, and you make them great for us. God bless you. Chapter 70, The Scottish Incubator, The Man Who Saw Tomorrow by Naga, Tummala. So, question which comes to our mind. We always try and frame 4 questions. Gurdeep, thank you. We love you for what you do. So, Gurdeep, first question, please read.
Question number 1. There is more in us than we know. If we can be made to see it, perhaps for the rest of our lives, we will be unwilling to settle for less. Actual growth often
Yeah,
comes.
let's take a pause here.
Yeah.
So, this is a quote by Hahn. And if you look at the quote, it has some important elements. First, know your depth, and you are infinite. Never underestimate yourself. Gurdeep, this goes back to cashing in on confidence. So there's a sequel to that, literally.
Mm-hmm.
And the interesting bit is that if you can have trust and faith in your effort, you will never settle for less. Read this quote, write it somewhere, and when you write this quote, try and answer the question below it. The question is very simple. Over to you, Gurdeep.
Actual growth often comes from overcoming one's own doubts, fears, and limitations rather than external challenges. As educators, how can we create environments that empower students to push past self-imposed barriers and reach their full potential?
Wonderful. So a lot of these barriers are in your mind. They don't exist physically. So how do you overcome your own mind's limitation? That's the thought. So if you look at what Shomie gave you an example in the chapter, whether it was doing the outward bound activity or whether it was wanting to become firefighters, look at the way Hahn worked with his philosophy to build the learning system. And a lot of those learning systems today are an integral part of so many schools, whether residential or non-residential. Question 2.
Imagine you are designing a school curriculum where students learn as much outside the classroom as inside. What real-world experiences would you incorporate to develop resilience and leadership skills in students?
Yeah. Reflect on this question. But more important than just giving us a liking and cheering, give your comments to us. So what you can do, how you can respond to these questions is, there is a comment box below. At the moment, there are no comments. So we expect you to write your reflection just here on the Happy Teacher blog. So and you can take one question from 4 and answer here. Other options is, if you want to do an article, if you see on the right column, you see popular posts. If you want us to publish your article, we are more than happy to do it. You can email your article to the email address on top or to Manisha. She's already shared her article in the emails. So can you scroll up, please? We will repeat the email ID. So you can either comment below or you can email to a very simple ID, LF. LF stands for Learning Forward. EBD stands for EnglishBookDepot.in. So email ID is very easy to remember, Learning Forward at English Book Depot. English Book Depot is one of the sponsors or promoters of the Learning Forward India Foundation because they want you to appreciate the art of reading. And we are essentially setting up this foundation to build the art of reading to posterity. So you can send your reflections here. When you send your reflections, you can send a voice message, you can send a video, you can send a graphic, you can send any illustration you want with text. You can send only a text, but pick up a question, write 300 to 400 words and send them to us, and we'll publish them on the Teachers Academy Happy Teachers blog. Question number 3, please.
A student in your class consistently misses deadlines and avoids responsibilities. At Gordonstoun, students are expected to self-report mistakes and take corrective actions. Instead of punishment, how would you create a system that encourages students to take accountability for their actions?
Brilliant. I think this is a great thought-provoking question. We always think of negative effects or disincentives. Have you ever thought how we can take this to be challenging? So if you look at the chapter, if you were caught doing wrong, you were made to walk. And you were made to walk in your free time. So you walk it, and it all added up. You are made to walk, as you get good health directly. You're made to walk, you will think that, did I do the right thing? And you have to correct yourself. The system has to be such that it corrects your own path. आप लड़ खड़ाओगे, गिरोगे, खड़े होगे, आगे चलोगे. Look at a child. A child first goes on their knees, crawls, then learns how to stand, falls and learns how to stand, and gradually, step by step, learns how to walk. That's the way confidence is built. And that's what this entire learning cycle, or what we call the Scottish Incubator, the Gordonstoun cycle, Gordonstoun method of teaching, Gordonstoun curriculum, which is path-breaking to the world, and it gave world programs like the Duke of Edinburgh Award, the Murray Badge, the life skills, the first aid. All these things came from UK to us. So today you have the St. John's Ambulance Association, you have the Royal Life Saving Society. You still have these institutions which were made 100 years back. So it's important in all of them that self-report mistakes and take corrective action. This is the key. So when someone says that I've not done my homework and admits it to you, how would you react? Do reflect over it. Question 4.
Hahn advocated for placing students in controlled, challenging situations to build resilience. How can we design safe yet challenging learning experiences that prepare students for real-world problem solving?
Fantastic. Great question. So you have 4 questions at hand. Think about them. Pick up one, answer all 4. If you want to answer all 4, please email us your answers. We'll happily publish them. If we publish 5 posts of yours, the certificate is yours. As simple as that. It's not more than that. We meet every Saturday, and we have promised to meet you 51 Saturdays celebrating 5 years of Learning Forward India Foundation. We will not let you down, but we don't want you to let you down yourself. Please read, please reflect, and please build relationships. This whole chapter of Shomie Das's book is about the relationship between the student and the teacher, a relationship with the self, a relationship between the institution and the individual, a relationship between the principal of Mayo and Shomie, a relationship between Kurt Hahn. Yeah, email is very simple, lf@ebd.in. Please go there on top. Just copy this, Gurdeep, and paste it in the chat. Yeah, copy the email and paste it in the chat, please. Will that work for you? Yeah, just paste it in the chat. Yeah, Gurdeep has done it. The email is there. It's very simple. Manisha has a long email where you'll end up making spelling mistakes in learningforward.org.in. So we found the shortest possible email we could create for you. You very, very rarely find such a short email address. So just send what you want to this email address. You can send us reflections. If nothing else, what comes to your mind? You want to write an email to us, please write what you want to write, and we are there to mentor you, irrespective of whether you are a paid or an unpaid subscriber. You are free to write to us. And believe me, we answer every communication within 4 hours. We have a wonderful team here, and we are here to make happy teachers and empower them to spread the joy of learning. Over to you, Jugjeev sir, for your thoughts.
Thank you. Yeah, I think that, we covered the heart of education today, right? I mean, Kurt Hahn is an absolute institution, right? And if, even if you just reflect on those 4 questions and are able to implement these things, if you taught a child accountability, math, science, to apne aap hi seekh jayega, yaar. So, I think that's the heart of the matter. If you teach them all these other things, and the reason, Kurt Hahn, and I read a little bit about him because I'm very intrigued, said to put children at risk is because then they will discover things about themselves. And that's what he meant in that quote in the first question. If they discover those things about themselves, then they will want to create that same feeling for the rest of their lives. He had this concept of 6 reasons why children go into decline. And actually, he said that society actually corrupts them. So he said, before society corrupts them, let's give them this so that they don't get corrupted. So, I mean, it's he also, besides this, founded, the World Atlantic College, United World College, right?
Yeah,
So, I mean, it's quite amazing.
So do you think, Jugjeev, his challenges as a Jew, and he also took a risk? This chapter started with his sending out that letter. So he actually lived the life of risk taking and gave you a living example what a teacher should be.
Yeah, that's the other point, right? I mean, children model their behavior on their parents and their teachers. So the best way to teach for a teacher is actually to model the behavior. I mean, if you say something, do something else, guess what the children are going to do?
Yeah, and let me come back to a very sensitive issue. Use of device and technology. So please be judicious. That's all I will say in lighter jest. Don't take me hard hitting. And I will give you a little story on that. We have crowded 6 weeks of device use. See, let's come to reality. Devices have become part of us. Internet has become part of us. And why we devised a 6-hour-a-week learning session at My Good School for teachers and for children was simply to take that as an opportunity कि अगर आप डिवाइस को खोल के बैठे हैं तो कम से कम कुछ उसमें से भी तो सीख लीजिए, सिर्फ स्क्रोलिंग पे मत रह जाइए। और ये एक ही क्लासरूम है जब हम क्लास में किताब के पन्ने परतते हैं आपके सामने, इसलिए परतते हैं कि आप धीरे धीरे हमारे जो बोले हुए वर्ड्स हैं उनको टेक्स्ट में फॉलो करें। And all of us, believe me, more than you, we benefit. We are also sitting here for these 40-45 minutes to concentrate and read. So the art of reading is about critical thinking. The art of reading is about communication. The art of thinking is about collaboration. And all this comes with reading. And when you do this, you become a better citizen. And that's the beauty of building character. So when I go back to the philosophy at My Good School, where we have 6 C's. Now, My Good School is not an institution. My Good School is a figment of imagination. It's a philosophy. It's a philosophy by which we hope we will enrich your school's curriculum, by which we hope you will strengthen you to become a better teacher. And thank you for your time. Thank you for being with us. I think we've had a wonderful session. We are very much in time as always. In about half an hour's time, I think we will have this video up on YouTube. The video will be embedded on the blog itself, happyteacher.in. Gurdeep, please write down the blog address in the chat so people can record it. And if anywhere you get lost, just go onto the internet and type schooleducation.com in your browser. Schooleducation.com. It will take you to our homepage of Good Schools Alliance, where there will be everything in one roof. Don't remember too many web addresses. Don't look for our phone number. Don't look for our email. Don't worry about that. Just go to schooleducation.com and connect with us. We are there to help you. We are there to experience the joy of learning with you. And yes, our goal is #HappyTeachers. On that note, smiles to you all. God bless you. Gurdeep, keep smiling. Thank you so much. You are one chapter ahead of us. Please stay there. Bless you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Before we go, let me mention there's a nice poster behind Gurdeep. Gurdeep, can you come back in the conversation?
Yeah,
You,
sir.
yeah.
Yes, sir.
That poster talks about reading, reflection, and relationship. And we push that on Sunday mornings. Jugjeev sir is a wonderful host of My Good School. And tomorrow when Jugjeev sir comes at 10:30 in the morning, he has students, he has teachers from our member schools of Good Schools Alliance. And you can also join it if your school is not a member of Good School Alliance. You can join up as an individual and attend My Good School. It has a subscription of 2,500 an annum. You get 104 sessions, 104 hours of learning, 2 hours a week. That's why I said 104. And in addition to that, you get 52 Saturdays. So for 104 plus 52, what is that, Gurdeep?
156.
So 156 hours, 2500. A certificate and recognition on Happy Teachers blog. What more you want? God bless you. Take your learning forward. See you next week. Bye-bye.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.